Yeah, that was an experience. Thanks for, I guess it was Fear Dragon that filled in, really. I feel like it was only fair, even if he did try to sabotage my predictions. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Tried to upset the system. That's just sacrilege.
You know what it is as well? Like, for people out there, just to let you know, my predictions are written down in the prediction channel hours before we begin. So it's just unfair that Fear Dragon thinks he can come in and just not care about my predictions that I thought so carefully about and wrote down so wonderfully.
Yeah, we put way too much work into this Go prediction thing. Anyways, bottom right of Blackburn, it is the red Protoss MaxPax.
And in the bottom left of Blackburn, how blue Zerg is Vanya. You say we put too much work into it. Have you actually looked at the document to track it? It is the most complex Excel/Google Sheets file I've ever seen. It's like so many equations. It's importing things from different sheets. It's using formulas. It's reading things from other files. I didn't even know that much was possible in Excel. It's actually mind-blowing.
I feel like it kind of proves, not that I've seen it, but I think I can imagine what you're talking about. There's always life pro tips, on Reddit that's learn how to use Excel. It's really powerful and no one knows how to use the full extent of it. And it's really easy. And I'm like, what can it possibly do? And I guess, well, it does this. It helps track caster predictions, production predictions, Twitch predictions.
Real life-changing things that we need to know how to do. Absolutely.
Exactly. All right, well, a little bit of a more normal start here in this PVZ, where we had the hatch block, yes, but no forge.
Yeah, just much more standard, right? Blocking the hatchery, not building a forging cannons, and obviously just going on from here. As we obviously expect a lot of just Stargates from MaxPax, so that's kind of what's expected. So get yourselves ready for some Void Rays, because he definitely has some builds that he prefers. And while I do think he's mixing it up a little bit now compared to what he was doing a season or so ago in DreamHack, it still has a very heavy imprint of just how he likes to play, which is Sky Toss.
Right, yeah. This is what we expect, even if sometimes he has some neat little twist to it. He does do the Tempest thing. He does do some more Void Ray, let's say, pressure than some other Protosses do. He just feels very comfortable with all things Air Protoss, but he's also been great at rounding out his entire Protoss style. So ground, air, attacks, defense, MaxPax really become a overall very complete Protoss. He did slip a little bit, though, versus Lambo. Lambo had some aggression, some Nidus Worms, and MaxPax wasn't quite able to handle it. I feel like that would usually suit Vanya so well.
Yeah.
I always say, I always think of Vanya as an aggressive Zerg. I don't think that's too out there to think that, but now it's been done, So does Vanya go, oh, that works, and then try it? I don't think so. The Nidus Worm builds are still so unlikely to work.
Yeah, I think it's actually really unfortunate for Vanya, because he might have tried some stuff like that, but now it's being done once. I think MaxPax is absolutely going to say, hey, what lost me this series? Let's go and figure it out. Let's see what I need to do in the future, see what I need to scout, see what I need to respond to. I feel like maybe, I don't know if, Vanya would have done that exactly, but it definitely feels like it maybe takes away some options that Vanya would have usually liked to look toward. He is an aggressive Zerg, a lot of queen pulls, a lot of, switching into mutas big time to just try and catch the Protoss off guard. And stuff like Nidus is an aggression like that, absolutely kind of right down his alley. So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting dynamic of, playing against someone that has played against something recently in an important match that they're likely to go back and look at a bit, as those queens are already waltzing across the map.
Yeah, but it looks like almost a fake, right?
Yeah, it is, right?
I don't know. I feel like he is going to use the queens, but
he's droning though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's odd, but it's fake is not the right word. It's applied pressure with the slowest units in the game.
Yeah, I'm just gonna casually apply light pressure with my queen wall.
It's what's happening.
I know,
but it's 100% what's happening.
Good description, but if I was just listening, I would have thought, what the heck are these casters on about? Here we go, 2 queens, 3, 4 in tow, and about 10 Zerglings, and that's all this attack is. It's really not a lot. I feel like MaxPax, he's getting ready to defend the natural, when actually he doesn't, he's actually let the third finish. And I kind of like that because I think there is a reality where you can defend this, and that would be really good against such light pressure as this. He's going to recall a couple units out there to help. He will let the batteries finish on the natural because he can use those to heal the Void Rays, which is great. As an Oracle comes back in, it wants to keep active and pick away at those Zerglings. That would be ideal.
This is some kind of sick pressure from Vanya. I love the idea, but then I also really like how MaxPax is able to respond. The shield batteries placed perhaps initially thinking that, natural, end up being just close enough to the third to make the 2 Void Rays do the trick. Because I'm guessing specifically, Vanya knew he could take on 2, if not 3 Void Rays if there weren't shield batteries, which who's going to have too many shield batteries this early on against what looked to be almost a fake? That's certainly what we guessed it was initially. And instead, shield batteries just good enough to cover Blackburn, actually kind of one of the maps that does specifically cater towards that. And Vanya's, again, pressure being the word we're going to use, didn't work. Question? But is it okay?
Because I've never seen this before.
Yeah, is it okay now? Like, I guess that's the bigger question.
We just lost a Void Ray. Okay, so Void Ray just went down. That's a little bit of a shame. I would say it's okay, really, especially having killed a Void Ray now on the counterattack. Initially, I was like, maybe. I mean, you force a lot of static defense on the natural, which isn't ideal later in the game, as long as you aren't planning on attacking later as Vanya. It would be kind of foolish, right? You're like, build all this stack defense to defend. I know, just a couple of batteries, but that's expensive so early on. It's like, hey, build these batteries, and then it's like, and now I'm going to attack your natural with something where those batteries are really useful. So, yeah, I feel like it was okay. Losing a few drones now. Yeah, I don't know, like, I think so.
I am leaning towards it was okay for Vanya, but a bit better for MaxPax. But I think it is so much more about this follow-up. Got a lot more Hydras on the way. Obviously, the gold base has been taken. So far being defended, although I think MaxPax is going to continue pushing this issue. And then MaxPax decides to add on a fleet beacon first. He's also adding on a robotics bay, but that came down second, so that's a lot to afford, even though 3 bases are now up and running. If Vanya could do this, and he's getting Overlord drops with it, if he could attack soon, then I think he'd get it. But I guess the question is, can he get unloaded in the main base before the air is already out?
I love that MaxPax canceled his carriers and says, yeah, let's go Tempest instead. They're absolutely going to be way better in this situation. They just build a bit quicker, and they can kite backwards a lot more. A low carrier count just doesn't do much once these Hydras get up in your face, because the interceptors are down and then the carriers are basically useless, while the Tempests can basically kite back the entire time. So that'll be the difference made here most likely. As the first few Tempests on the way, not ready yet. I'm really intrigued to see how the heck we use these Dropper Lords. That's going to be kind of fascinating as well in the very near future. We're just going to jump up into the main and yeah, let's see what the preparation is like. I mean, you see it, so now you can activate the Void Rays.
Oh, no.
These Overlords
my God.
Go down. A third with units still inside. It's fair to say this was not how it was meant to look.
No, not at all. Very ouch, very ouch. I love the idea. Both. I love the ideas, plural. The tiny little queen walk against someone who might just be totally like, what is going to happen? Why? And then they just, I imagine that Vanya sometimes just straight up like resets the entire air count and even gets the Nexus. I bet he's done that in practice because the Protoss has 2 Void Rays over a third going, and then they just lose everything. Then the next follow-up part, the drop Overlord, that hasn't been seen in a long time, especially not that early. I feel like that also has probably worked to the great effect of just getting the Protoss to tap out. But yeah, it all started, I guess, with MaxPax actually getting a shield battery up to have his Void Rays defend the third.
Yep, it was actually really nice because I feel like if you get a cancel on the third base, it's a completely different game, right, as well. And so I actually feel like looking back on it, MaxPax really did everything he needed to do. I think that's where it went wrong because it feels like as Vanya, you don't necessarily need to do a lot, but by you didn't really slow the pros down too much overall. And then, I mean, actually, even if these like Overlords didn't get zapped down, I was pretty confident MaxPax had the hold on this follow-up anyway. And that kind of leaves you question, well, how much more did Vanya need to be actually scary with this push? Well, maybe something like a third base cancel, MaxPax giving that up when there wasn't actually that much pressure, maybe overbuilding batteries, but honestly, what he did really was pretty darn good overall. I mean, the worst thing was when he counterattacked and lost a Void Ray.
Right. That was the only mistake that MaxPax really made. I'd love to see that worked out again versus a different Protoss, because I gotta imagine it is going to be a different defense. Probably attempted same response, but the timing of it and the acknowledgement of it is going to be a bit different. MaxPax just made it look like, you know, it was something he could deal with. As I said, I think a lot of other Protosses would have just sat there, you know, like Obama gif, just like, what? Why? And they would have died. But anyways. Yep. Beckett Industries is the next map, and I do believe this was this man's choice. In the top right, it is Vanya.
And in the bottom left, that red Protoss player is MaxPax.
I had already seen, you know, on the death segment that Beckett was chosen as the second map. And I was already prepared to talk about it and say, oh, this is kind of interesting, even though I don't think PvZ is actually the worst map from either side. Protoss players and Zerg players seem to pick it occasionally. It's not like ZVT, where it's never chosen. But it still is rare. And now that I've seen the first game from Vanya, I am 100% predicting another weird kind of attempt at aggression. Not necessarily right now with this pool first, although MaxPax is taking it very seriously, defending with 2 gates back at home. Okay, he's going to cancel a second gateway. But something else, because Vanya's clearly coming to this best of 3 with a bag of tricks.
Yep. This is going to be kind of a fun one. I remember MaxPax played this against Dark, right, went to season finals, and then in the rematch, they didn't play it, which I always thought was interesting as well. It was like, MaxPax kind of realized, like, you know, if we play this again, maybe you kind of know what I'm going to do, you kind of know my style, maybe you're going to adapt a lot more. And that's definitely what this map allows you to do, like, adapt a lot, kind of do things a bit differently. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. We'll see what the heck Vanya comes up with. I think it'll be kind of fascinating to see what Vanya does when he gets to play with a map like Beckett. It is kind of the perfect playground for him.
Usually the eyes are more so on the Protoss to dictate the pacing of the game for the first 5 minutes. What technology do they get first and foremost, and then how much do they dedicate to said technology? So for MaxPax, for instance, we could talk a lot about how he sometimes does the Tempest build in this map, but he hasn't done that, I think, in a little while. But anyways, now for me, it's more about what is Vanya doing? He's not necessarily guaranteed to make their first choice to dictate the pace. Like, he's going to do what Zergs usually do, which is drone up for the most part. And then we'll see what happens from there. But I do feel like he is the one that's going to do another drop overlord or really fast lurkers or some type of Hydra bust, old school style, just something that is different. As that's the first game just convinced me that Vanya is going to try and play outside the box, just like Lambo did, but in other ways than Lambo. We can't just copy the Nidus one.
Yeah, no, it should be very fun as these adepts going to come across. It's actually kind of odd. MaxPax doesn't usually come across the map with his adepts like this. Like, usually he's a pretty passive player, super early in the game, but I'm mixing up a little bit, bringing the adepts across this time to not much avail. 5 lings is not exactly brilliant. That does make it a little tough to hold onto your third base, especially on a map like Beckett, which is just that little bit smaller.
I'm just making sure to watch Vanya's drone count. Seeing if he's droning or trying to do any little ling swells that might try and take advantage of MaxPax being a bit greedy on his third, or the Oracle usage, you know, going across the map, not being back at home. But nope, just drones for now, which means that it's more so about MaxPax's follow-up at this point. You know, he's not doing any quick second Stargate, but he could still do second Stargate. He's just got his bones starting to get set up here.
Yeah, it would be cool to see something different almost from MaxPax, but I don't imagine it will happen because I think he just really believes in the build. He's very comfortable with it. Rotron drops down from Vanya. That's not really too out of place overall. Maybe it can hint towards some roaches and queens here. As he takes a couple of extra gases, gets that lined up, and yeah, we're really still waiting for kind of the cards to be played to figure out what the next step is for all of these guys. There's the +1 air weapons, so on our way to double Stargate, at least from MaxPax. Forge though first. Boom.
Okay, all right, different. I mean, we have seen some additional faster forges as they get into second Stargate, and they actually have cannons to help defend against the Queen Walk as well, which I'm sure is first and foremost what MaxPax is watching out for. I mean, that's certainly what I'm watching out for. Vanya, I mean, he's not seen too much, but he's seen enough to tell him that it is going to be a macro game. I don't think these are defensive. He's maybe getting set up to do a little bit of a walk across the map.
Yeah, the road drawing doesn't necessarily... I think knowing what you already knew as Vanya, you didn't really necessarily need the road drawing right then and there. That's why the Forge is going to be great for MaxPax, because now you can start building cannons immediately. And on a map like this, where like the entrance to the bases are going to be choked up, it's going to be interesting. Now you see Vanya's going around the far left side, so he's going to come toward the natural. Now, obviously, MaxPax can fall down the ramp towards his third base defensively, but he's going to need to make sure there's a defense on his natural too. But if he can get that up, well, I think he's going to be looking pretty golden here.
Yeah, there was nothing in particular that was really clever about this build. I don't believe so. Like, Vanya is doing one of the few Queen Walks that we do see. A lot of other Zerg players do. So this isn't necessarily a surprise for MaxPax, who's probably been mentally prepared for this and is now physically prepared in the game for it. Shield batteries, cannons aplenty. Maybe you could get a Stargates killed and lose access to 2 Voiders at a time, but even that's not being targeted. Of course, cannons first and foremost. Shield battery overcharge does get activated. The Queens are trying to take down some of these Void Rays, but so far not able to find anything, and also that +1 about to finish, 6 seconds away from finishing. All of the shield batteries are starting to go down. A couple more cannons finishing up, however, and Vanya should be starting to run low on these units. All of the Lings have been expended, and now it is just the Roach Ravager Queen, and not that much of it. MaxPax could still buy some time and start picking away at these Queens. The transfuses, they're now all gone.
Yep, it's definitely looking to be a little bit interesting, because these Voids are going to chase the route down into the Queen. I thought the Voids were going to continue just going after the Ravagers, because the Ravagers are a lot of the time the bigger threat here, but in this case, you start going after the Queens instead. Should probably pull those probes away from the natural, right? I mean, he didn't necessarily need to lose all of these workers here at all, as he will come through. A corrosive bile comes down, but he dodges it. Obviously, as the Queens go down, these Ravagers do get dealt with eventually. And a hold is a hold in this situation. And okay, Vanya's trying to move out of this. 56 drones. Lair is just now starting, though. So his tech's going to be very far behind, and obviously his Queen count gets completely reset. So Void Ray aggression does start to become a pretty big problem.
Very big problem. They might just head right over to that 4th base, knowing that's where it's going to be put, and knowing they can get a free cancel. The only thing that MaxPax might worry about is a Ling flood into the natural, now that the natural has been broken. But, I mean, I think that is maybe a legitimate worry. He doesn't really have a lot of warp ins, right? It's not happening. So we know it's not a worry. MaxPax is able to go across the map, picks off a couple of creep tumors, and actually more so going for the throat here. He's going to find the Spore Crawler not planted. Prismatic alignment took care of that. Lickety split's not really necessary for the Queens, and that is actually a game. Yeah, he just knew he could get Vanya there.